Sitting VIP with my Bible full of LSD.
Fantasy Flight Star Wars. A great game, or well, set of games, all set in everyone's favorite universe. Star Wars. I'm gonna say Star Wars a lot in this video, I can tell, so hold on to your hats because there's gonna be a lot of wars and a lot of stars. Not only are we gonna be talking about the massive amount of books, holy crap, the books, this system has, but the very unique dice system as well. And of course, my strangely unique personal experiences with this game in general. So you want to get into FFG's Star Wars role-playing game and obviously have no idea where to start. You have Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, Force and Destiny. There's quite a bit of books and a load of splat books for each. All three books are built to match a specific tone to your adventures, unlike their Warhammer 40k RPGs. These books are all completely compatible with each other, and people can have a bit of everything if they so want. First, you have Edge of the Empire, whose lore is set just after the first Death Star is destroyed. You have everything you need to play someone who's on the run, or on the fringes of galactic society. You could play hired guns, smugglers, bounty hunters, you name it. This is also the first book that was released in the series. Second, you have Age of Rebellion, which is set after Empire Strikes Back, and has everything in the book geared toward joining and operating within the rebellion. A lot of the roles in the book are much more military focused than anything, so sometimes people are going to feel like they're playing more of a war game than a tabletop role-playing game. But hey, that's probably on the GM more than anything. And lastly, you have Force and Destiny, a Force-focused rulebook that brings the lore of the game to shortly after the first Death Star again, and Jedi are now popping up trying to rebuild the Jedi Order. The Force was something that was always present in each of the rulebooks, but the rules for Jedi were never completely expounded upon until this particular set. If you're wondering why, well, there isn't many Jedi and the originals now were there. There were also a few splat books that allowed you to play in settings during the Clone Wars and during the Rise of the Empire. Also, there was a game set during the Force Awakens, but that was only a beginner game. Nothing ever came of it. Speaking of beginner games, every core book comes with one, so if you're looking for materials to add that to your physical games, or you're just looking to jump into the game because you're unfamiliar with the system, then you're more than welcome to pick those up and learn the game from there. I do actually have experience with Edge of the Empire and its beginner game. I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. Since this is an FFG product, and everyone knows that FFG absolutely despises trees, there's loads of books in every core set, as I mentioned before. They have splat books for every role, expanding them to give them more sub-roles and gear options, decks for critical tables, NPCs, enemies, and for your roll trees. They got you covered, literally. The dice are a matter of concern for a lot of people who want to get into this game, but hey, you may be like, Mike, what do you mean? Oh. Yeah, the dice are proprietary. I mean, the dice are just your usual standard RPG die, but they have special symbols for how the game works. This probably will be a big turnoff. In fact, no, I know it's a big turnoff for a lot of people because they are forced to learn a dice system that is completely foreign to them. Gone are the numbers on the dice, and there are now successes, advantages, triumphs, and failures. Believe me, when I picked up the beginner game at Barnes & Noble all the way back in 2012, I was a bit stumped on how the system worked. I was sitting with my thumb planted firmly up my ass, confused as to how the whole system was going to operate. But then I realized something. It's not as hard as it looks. The game relies heavily on narrative play over crunching numbers. Though in fairness, the game can get incredibly crunchy every so often. I mean, look at my one character's explosive pistols that can level a few rooms of enemies in a matter of a turn. Yeah, he's a bit overpowered, isn't he? You have a series of dice corresponding to your character's skills and abilities. Take however many green and yellow dice that would add up to, and the GM or yourself rolls a particular amount of purple and maybe possibly some red dice and compares the results. This inadvertently cuts down on cheating, so if you're worried or have the players notorious for doing that, well, you screwed them over. Congrats. To add even a bit more control and some adversarial play against the players if you're the GM, you can have destiny points. That lets you adjust your rolls or activate certain abilities you may have. Oh boy. However, it was supposed to be this dynamic economy, but, yeah, don't work like that. You see, you spend those destiny points, and players spend them, and you spend them as a GM, but that doesn't really happen. You spend one as a GM and the players sit on it until they definitely really need it. It makes everybody extremely reluctant to spend points. So if you're a player, you're not going to want to give the GM anything to work with. But if you're the GM, you're going to realize that your players are just going to sit on these destiny points and they're not going to do anything with them. So you're kind of reluctant to do either of them. So my experience with this game system is incredibly intimate and led to a lot of memorable moments. The first time I played this game was actually at a round table at some random McDonald's in my city. We played it right out of the box with little to no difficulty. The starter game was pretty good and allowed me to GM the game practically prep free. We spent all of lunch and most of dinner time playing, getting attention from staff and regulars alike. I think I found this place to be accessible because of the table it had. I feel like I may have spent some time searching for a suitable place to play because I couldn't play at my house at the time. When I was finally able to secure a spot, me and my friends played every weekend for hours, making loads of memories around my dinky old table. The table has since been gotten rid of, but I still remember the wood having dents from the sheer amount of dice rolled on it. It's probably the second most engrossing game I ever had. I practically lived in the Star Wars universe, making sure that everything I did was lore friendly and that we were all having fun to the fullest. I mean, I literally had one book, but I didn't need anything else more than just that. The game was simple enough I could run nearly completely everything from memory. If you're asking what lore I ran, it was of course Legends because my book predates the Disney merger actually. Pretty much all my Star Wars books do. They don't even have the Disney logo on the back. I think this game was what solidified my love for tabletop games and made me thirst for other games that weren't Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder. I had so much more fun than I had with D&D. And I wanted to keep finding more and more interesting systems that were out there. Hell, I even picked up a book off of Drive-Thru RPG recently, which I probably would have never did, but maybe I'll do a video on that one someday. So, should you play this game? Well, hell yeah, definitely. I mean, in fairness, if you're a Star Wars fan, play it. There's a generic system called Genesis that you could pick up if you don't want to be tied to Star Wars, but there's a big old problem though. You see, Fantasy Flight discontinued all their RPG products. All of them. No more RPGs for you. None. They even shut off their forums, so that's gone. Can you still get this stuff? Sure, apparently all their RPG products have been moved to another studio called Edge Studio, so there's hope through Drive-Thru RPG, so it's all print on demand. No more dodgy bindings. Okay, well the Star Wars book doesn't have... that binding doesn't suck, but the Warhammer one does. It also means the dice are a little bit rarer, but at least they're not at super high prices. Yet. That's actually nice. Plus there's a dice app for your phone. I actually really like this dice app. It's probably the best dice app I've ever used, honestly, and it has the capacity for standard dice. You get over the dice symbols, trust me. Just looks intimidating, I suppose. It's not crunchy. Well, it can be crunchy. It's all based on narrative play, and it's not D&D, so if you're looking for a game that isn't D&D, but you want to play something sci-fi, then this is the game for you. Hey everyone, quick plug. My friend has their awesome Patreon. Grimly is starting a sticker club that you get a sticker every month for about $5 a month. You get access to their art and everything. I love stickers. They look really cool. I enjoy them. I haven't got one yet, but I'm expecting one here pretty soon. But honestly, check them out at patreon.com/KaiboLacroix. I'll put a link in the description below.
I've gone up on drugs so much, I don't think I can come down. I really don't.